What would it be?
Fun.
Fun. Did you say fun? So we know the word Savior, Lord, Messiah, Emmanuel, right? And these are all great descriptions. But there was a young preacher who asked his pastor one day, he said, how would you describe Jesus in one word? And the pastor said, relaxed. That's right, relaxed. Jesus, when you think about it, everywhere he went, he was relaxed. He didn't hurry. He was gentle. He was meek. He was patient. He was loving. He was kind. He never turned anybody away, did he? He never stopped from helping other people. Even when he was on his journeys, someone would touch the tassel of his cloak. He would turn. He would greet them. That's what he was. Jesus was relaxed. So I ask you, if you asked your spouse or a family member or a friend to describe you in one word, what would that word be? I bet it ain't relaxed. How about, if we're honest, we might hear words like anxious, impatient, busy, burdened, stressed, restless, cranky, moody, distracted, or depressed. Yes. And why is that? Why is it that we are not a relaxed people? And the answer is today that Jesus gives us an answer to help us uncover why we're not relaxed. He says, take my yoke upon you and learn from me. You will find rest for yourselves. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. My brothers and sisters, Jesus is conveying to us a very simple truth. The yoke you wear determines the burdens you bear. Remember that. The yoke you wear determines the burdens that you bear. And Jesus tells us his yoke is easy. And in the Greek, actually the word is well-fitting. Well-fitting. Essentially, he's saying he has a yoke that's made just for you, just for me. It fits us well. It has been carefully designed. It is suited for you. But the problems start, and we know it, when we wear the yokes of the world. Or as St. Paul said in Romans, the flesh. That's when we put a wood on our shoulders that God never intended for us to wear. And we know this. We can be yoked to all kinds of things in this world. There's power, money, careers, addictions, family, friends. Sometimes they're yokes that we do things to please other people, even those people who are toxic to us. We do things, though. And why? Because we want to be recognized, we want to be affirmed, we want to be praised, we want to be needed. We live out agendas of other people instead of finding our own identity, don't we? We undertake projects. We launch careers. We assume responsibilities. We enter into relationships, even marriages, without ever discerning if that is what God really wanted for you. We do this because of our sense of control. We want to control everything we do. And you know it. We want to control. We don't allow him to control. And soon, you find that life becomes complicated and burdensome. It's not easy. It doesn't fit well. And why is that? Because that's not what God and Jesus created for you. So we know, my friends, we know that Jesus knows our burdens. He knows that we have yokes that aren't from him. And that's why we get this invitation today. It is addressed to all the tired, the burned out, the stressed out, the busy, everybody who's behind on their to-do lists. Anybody out there like that? Or should I say, is there anybody out there not like that? That's the better question, isn't it? So we seek that rest, don't we? Don't we want to have a life that's easier, less burdens? It can happen. This is not a fairy tale. But the real question is, are we willing to accept the lifestyle that comes with Jesus' request? Because if you want to have a life like he's promised, you have to adopt the lifestyle of him, of Jesus. And that's the beauty of the yoke. The yoke. Because there are three things that happen when you attach yourself to his yoke. You will be close to him, you will learn from him, and you will work with him. Think about it. You'll be close to him, you'll learn from him, and you will work with him. So I want to break those down for you. One, close to him. Obviously, you know what a yoke looks like? They're two things next to each other. He's right here. If you're yoked to Jesus, he's standing right next to you. You're shoulder to shoulder with him. You're close to him. It's only when we decide to go off on our own little paths and our own little directions, like the ox pulling the plow by himself, that's when we find ourselves with that yoke of the world. We have to allow him to walk with us. We have to walk with him. We simply let him lead, and we can follow. Will it be simple? Will it be comfortable? No, but that's not the point. The point is to allow him to lead you and be close to him. The second thing is, if you're yoked to Jesus, you'll learn from him. I mean, consider the context of his story today about the oxen. Did everybody understand the yoke and the oxen? I mean, most of us didn't grow up on farms, but you have the two oxen. One is a senior, very experienced oxen who's been doing this a long time. The other one is a young, energetic person, oxen, who doesn't know what in the world he's doing, who's ready to go running off in the field. And if he's not careful, he'll thrash, he can hurt himself, he can choke himself. That's what happens. That's why when you put two oxen on a yoke, you put a senior person and an inexperienced person. And that's what Jesus wants for us. He is the senior person. He knows what to do. We learn from him. We may thrash a bit, we probably will, and we do want to pull off, but he will pull the load. Because the other thing about the more senior oxen is they pull more of the load than the junior does. That's what he wants from us. He wants to pull the load. We have to learn from him. If we learn from him, we will begin to think like him and see the world as he sees the world. And the third thing, if you're yoked to him, you're going to work with him. He's going to be moving. We're going to be moving. You're stuck with him. But there's a beauty to that because you begin to become the person you're supposed to be. There's a famous evangelist who was asked, do you ever get nervous or anxious before you lead a large retreat? His response was, no, I don't get anxious because I know that Jesus is leading the retreat. I'm just here to help. That is our mission. Jesus is here to lead the retreat, to lead the mission. We're simply here to help. And when you're yoked to him, you're helping him. You're helping him carry that load. You're not called to be the Savior, none of us, but we're called to help people. We're called to love God and love our neighbor. So, my friends, what's that one word that describes you? Don't say it. Is it something you want to hear? Is it something, though, that you need to hear? Because it will describe the yoke that you have been attached to. The yoke you wear, remember, determines the burdens that you will bear. Life gives us burdens. No secret. But Jesus says, walk with me, learn from me, work with me. He reminds us he's going to pull the burdens if we let him. He's offering you a yoke that's made just for you, not for anybody else, just for you. When you accept that yoke, you will be close to him. You will learn from him, and you will work with him. And my friends, when you take his yoke, you will discover that his yoke is easy and his burden is light.